From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey everyone, welcome. How are you? I hope you had a good week. I hope you had a productive week. If you're tuning in for the first time, you just happen to catch the show, maybe you're on AM 950 KPRC, and you just happen to be sticking around after listening to The Verdict with Ted Cruz. My name is Ethan Buchanan. This is the Next Gen Report. Glad to have you. If you're listening on any of our other affiliates around the great, beautiful state of Texas, good evening to you as well. The folks over on 1200 WOAI in San Antonio, 1190 in Dallas. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. All right, we've got a lot here to talk about today. It's been a busy week. There's been some slow days in the news cycle, but there's still plenty of stuff to talk about. Before we dig into anything else, I want to dig into the whole $20 burrito debate. And if you're not on X, you may not have seen this. This is where primarily I've seen this debate. It's been on X. And it's basically, I'm not sure how it started, but someone somewhere was complaining about paying $20 for a burrito. And this kind of escalated into this massive back and forth amongst conservatives about affordability. And, you know, whether the affordability problem is real, if so, what are we going to do about it? What's causing it, et cetera, et cetera. It's been very interesting to watch. I think it's a healthy debate for conservatives to be having, especially going into the midterms, because one way or the other, to a certain extent, the affordability issue is real and it does need to be addressed. And if you don't believe me, look at the rise of the Democratic Socialists of America. That's a big part of why they're gaining so much ground, is because people, especially young people, feel like there's an affordability crisis. Now, maybe that's because there is one. Maybe that's because of some personal irresponsibility, some financial irresponsibility. I think the correct answer is a little bit of both. So we're going to dig into that. So here's a good summary article that I found from USA Today about all this, just in case you haven't been following the debate all week long on X. This is another good reason to be on X, by the way, just because there's really interesting kind of meetings of the minds on issues like this. So the $20 burrito debate reveals the GOP's affordability rift. Sometimes a burrito isn't just a burrito. What started as a complaint about a $20 burrito has turned into one of the internet's biggest political food fights. Over the past week, conservative influencers, elected officials, and even Vice President J.D. Vance have piled into a viral debate over whether a burrito really costs $20 and what that says about inflation, affordability, and the challenges facing young Americans. The argument has generated millions of views on X and evolved into a broader battle over the cost of living ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Grocery prices are insane. They're still rising, wrote Matt Walsh, a conservative podcaster at the Daily Wire, in an August 3rd post on X that helped ignite the debate. Addressing this problem should be the number one priority of every elected leader. End the stupid foreign wars and focus on this issue. It's one of the main reasons socialists are gaining power. I think he is right. I think the affordability question is a big part of the DSA becoming super, super popular. Because again, if you don't give people an alternative, if you can't point to a solution and say, this is what we're doing, they're going to start looking at more radical options. That's what we've seen with the DSA. That's what this is. Now, we can have our back and forth about whether or not that's legitimate, but at the end of the day, that's what's happening. Within days, the discussion had extended far beyond burritos, drawing in commentators, lawmakers, and economists, arguing over everything from restaurant prices and inflation to whether Republicans are taking voters' affordability concerns seriously. The debate began after Andrew Colvett, a spokesman for Turning Point USA, shared a complaint he had heard from a college student. A burrito shouldn't cost $20. Yeah, a lot of this is hangover from COVID and Biden-era inflation, but the lived experience is the same. It just feels like basic things cost too much. Post quickly gained traction online, sparking days of arguments over inflation, affordability, and whether politicians are taking voters' concerns seriously. Now, I did do some looking. I went shopping around and I tried to find a $20 burrito. The specific $20 burrito that led to this argument, I know there was a lot of discussion about a burrito that Costco was offering that was like a sushi burrito. And that was like $21 or something like that. And I think that may have been one of the burritos that was like the flashpoint that started this. So, you know, there's a lot to be said about that. USA Today, I think in this article actually went and did some searching around as well. A quick look on Grubhub found restaurant burritos ranging from $5 to $17. Taco Bell had burritos for less than $4 on Grubhub and starting at $3 on its app. Chipotle had burritos starting at $10. However, at Chipotle, you can easily approach that $20 price by ordering a double offering of meat and other add-ons. And this is kind of where we meet the two sides of this debate. On the one hand, you've got conservatives that are saying the affordability issue isn't really that bad. People are just spending irresponsibly. And then on the other issue, or on the other side of the issue, you've got people saying, well, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your standard of living at all. The fact that we're having to cut back is a sign that things are going poorly. And I think both have a little bit of legitimacy to them. Dan Crenshaw, ironically, had a tweet that I found very interesting about this. Here's what he said. Just hearing about this dumb $20 burrito debate, so I thought I'd make the losers on social media angry before going to bed. Stop whining, get a job, eat ramen like the rest of us did in college on a budget with 4 roommates. The market doesn't care what you think something should cost. Only communists care. They set the prices, remember. Then everyone starves, remember. Are you a communist? La-di-da-di-da. He's kind of correct a little bit, but this is absolutely not a winning message. So I don't know what he thought he was doing. I mean, it seems like he just planned to piss people off with that, and it worked. A bunch of people got really upset about it. To a certain extent, yeah, budget. Spend responsibly. If you can't afford a $20 burrito, don't buy a $20 burrito. But there's also an argument to be made that, hey, we should be able to buy burritos and it shouldn't cost $20. We'll dig into this a little bit more in just a second. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to the Next Gen Report. Once again, we're talking about the $20 burrito debate, kind of the economic questions that go along with all of that. Another great reason to be on X, so you can keep up with stuff like this. If you're not on X, and I'm not paid to say this, I don't get any money from X at all. I give X my money. But I think X is a good place to be if you want to keep up with politics, the debates happening in the political sphere. I think X is a great way to do that. I encourage you to get on X. While you're there, give me a quick follow at _Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. And yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about this big debate going on right now between the kind of, it almost divides on a age line. The baby boomers, older folks tend to look at basically just laziness as the problem. Why aren't you working harder? Why aren't you spending less? There's a certain amount of legitimacy to that. And then the younger folks, millennials and Gen Z, will look at the baby boomers and the Gen X and say, well, you guys have screwed up the economy almost irreversibly. We're going to have to, go way out of our way in order to fix a lot of these problems that you guys have created economically. And there's a certain level of legitimacy to both of those arguments. We're going to dig into that. But before we do that, I want to encourage you to check out my sponsor, Deus Volt Lapel Pins. These guys are fantastic. They've got a bunch of stuff back in stock. If you're a big fan of the state of Texas, there's a lot of stuff in here for you. They've got a lot of different Texas-themed, America-themed, Christian-themed pins. I highly recommend them. They're not super expensive. I think the most expensive lapel pin they have on here is $7. You can use my promo code NEXTPIN2026. You'll get 10% off. So go in there, take a look, see if there's a handful you like. Order 3 or 4 of them. Use that promo code, and you'll get a nice, decent discount, and you'll get a fantastic lapel pin to wear whenever you wear a suit jacket. All right, now let's dig into this. This, of course, started with the $20 burrito. Dan Crenshaw is saying you guys just don't buy the $20 burrito. And I think that's kind of correct. If you can't afford the $20 burrito, don't buy the $20 burrito. There are cheaper ways to eat and survive. This is something that Gen Z just doesn't do. They don't exercise financial self-control. A favorite pastime of mine has become watching Caleb Hammer on YouTube. He does a show called Financial Audit. And it's similar to Dave Ramsey, but he's just way more aggressive with it. He'll bring people in for like an hour and a half, and he'll sit with them, and it's like, okay, what are you spending money on? How much money are you making? What are you doing? What type of job do you have? What type of house or apartment do you live in? What type of car do you drive? And he'll analyze every single aspect of their financial life and then absolutely berate them for spending like fools. And there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of examples of people who just, for whatever reason, can't figure out how to be financially responsible. That is a big part of the problem for Generation Z. I'm not going to say there's no financial crisis, because to a certain extent there definitely is. But us young people are making it exponentially worse for ourselves by not going out and getting good jobs that are out there. They're few and far between. You have to work really hard for them. You have to look for them, but they are out there. And on top of that, we're spending like drunken sailors. And I mean, that's not just me saying that. Even Forbes is pointing this out. Credit card debt is very, very high across the country, like $1 trillion in debt. Credit card debt in the U.S. was $1.25 trillion at the end of quarter 1, 2026, according to the most recent data available. Americans nationwide rely on credit, with the average American carrying $6,595 in credit card debt. Residents in the District of Columbia have, on average, the highest balance at $9,225, and residents of Iowa have the lowest at $5,795. Now, that's national averages. I want to show you the average by age. Generation Z, 18 to 28 years old, $3,493. Millennials, $6,961. Generation X, $9,000. And again, these are averages. It's really easy to find people out there that have way higher. If you watch Caleb Hammer's show, you'll find people with tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in, bad credit card debt, bad car debt, things like that. Bad college loan debt even. That's a real common one. This is a problem. Gen Z, stop spending. Or adjust how you spend, where you spend, and when. If a burrito is $20, don't buy the $20 burrito. You might want the $20 burrito. Deny yourself. This is called being responsible. Should you be able to afford a burrito? Probably. But if you can't, you can't. That sucks. You can't. So don't buy the $20 burrito. Go get the $5 burrito from Taco Bell. And don't order it on one of these delivery apps that's going to charge you another $20 of fees. Take a $5 burrito, you've got a $5 delivery fee, and then you've got to put a $5 tip on it. You're up to $15 for one $5 burrito because you're too lazy to get in your car and drive to Taco Bell yourself. It's 5 minutes away. Taco Bell is not hard to come by. Get off your butt, go get your own burrito. You don't need to have everything delivered. That is a big part of this problem. There is also a legitimate, beyond their control, wages are not keeping up with inflation issue. And there's a lot of people to blame for this. Baby boomers, I love you. Old folks, I love you. You guys have screwed the pooch on this. I'm sorry. You did. I'll show you an example of this. This is U.S. wages haven't kept up with inflation. This is a chart by from Veroni, by Visual Capitalist, citing Bureau of Labor Statistic data. This shows from January of 2021 to July of 2025, the in consumer price index, that's kind of the measure of inflation, versus average hourly earnings and average real hourly earnings. As you can see, inflation since January of 2021 jumped 22.7%. That's crazy. Why? Why is that? Well, part of it's COVID. The lockdowns. That's a big part of it. But as you can see, we're into January of 23, January of 24, and it's slowed down maybe, but it's still going up rapidly. And then you look at the wages, the average hourly earnings, they've only risen about 21.8%. Then you look at the average real hourly earnings, that's what's actually hitting your bank account, that's only gone up 0.7%. In the same time that inflation has jumped up 22.7%, average real hourly earnings rose 0.7%. That is a problem. That is a real problem that has got to be addressed. We've got to figure out why this is happening, and we've got to fix it. There's going to be two solutions proposed to this problem. On the right, the solution is going to be nationalism. That is the correct solution. Economic nationalism. On the left, the solution is going to be globalism and communism. And it's going to be wrapped up with Islamism as well. Why? I don't know. But those two things always go hand in hand these days. The Red-Green Alliance is a weird thing. This is a real problem that nobody should be ignoring. In the short term, young people my age, need to be more financially responsible. Stop spending money you don't have. Stop buying things you can't afford, even if it's a burrito. On the political side, the folks in power have got to get up off their asses and do something productive. Fix this problem. Do the hard work that it's going to take to solve this issue. Or we are going to have a communist country. Those are the options. We'll be right back. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. I want to stay on this economic thing. This, to me, really, this is the most important issue in politics, I think. At least for the next, 5 to 10 years, this is going to be the most important thing. Because this is the message that the Democratic Socialists of America are going to use to recruit people, gain political power, and push actual honest-to-God nation-breaking communism in the United States. That's what's going to happen. So, listen, you can sit and say, oh, this is because Gen Z is lazy. And I've said before, and I've said it again, that is a factor. The laziness is a factor. The financial irresponsibility is a factor. But there are also things that Gen Z can't control that are a factor here. That is true. A huge part of the problem has been baby boomers and Generation X clinging on to political power and not doing a damn thing with it. That's a problem. That's part of it. Both Gen Z and the older generations are going to have to come together and recognize that the barely limping along economic state of the United States is something that we both bear a certain measure of responsibility for, and we have to work together to address. And if we don't do that, the young people and the foreigners that are being imported are going to put communists in power, and that's what'll happen. That's it. Those are the options. J.D. Vance is one of the few people that I think is actually being super intellectually honest about this. I want to play you a clip of him on Joe Rogan several weeks ago. He hits the nail on the head here. Take a listen to this.
And in some ways, Joe, the game is rigged.
Yes.
Yes. If you look at, again, I think so much of housing because, this happened, I think it was during the presidential campaign. Maybe it was right before. But I was talking to some family members over Thanksgiving and, just a sort of a younger friend of my wife's. They were like 5 or 6 years behind us. They were just about to get married. And this young woman, successful engineer, makes a higher salary than most Americans. She just sort of like tossed out there that, when her parents' generation was coming up, it was like possible to own a house and to raise a family and not be worried that much about things. And my thought was, okay, you're an engineer. You make way more money than 75% of people your age, maybe 90% of people your age. And you think that it is like this ridiculous, unachievable objective to have literally what your parents had, which is a decent job, a nice house, and a safe place. Like at that same dinner, like another friend of my wife's was talking about this. And he, South Indian family, grew up, his parents immigrated. He was born and raised in San Diego. And he was like, when I was growing up in Oceanside, this is like a suburb of San Diego where a lot of Marines live in Oceanside. It's close to Camp Pendleton. So when I was growing up, all of the kids that I played with, that I rode bikes with, that I was, playing street hockey with and football with, all of those kids were the sons of enlisted Marines in Oceanside, California. And then we went and looked at Oceanside, California rents. Again, this is a couple years ago, rents and housing prices. Like every house was north of $1 million on the street this guy grew up in. And enlisted Marine, frankly, most Marine officers could not afford to buy $1 million house. So does the socialism thing scare me? Yes. Is it the wrong solution? Yes. But one thing I try to persuade my fellow Republicans of is socialism is the alternative if we don't have a pathway to give people a sense that the system is not rigged and that the American dream is attainable. That's like our job. That's what we have to do. I'm not saying Rome was built in a day. It's not going to be easy to undo some of these economic trends. But man, we ran the experiment. We ran the experiment of offshoring all of our industrial jobs, of becoming a services and finance economy, and allowing Wall Street to come in and buy every asset of modern life and turn it into an investable, line goes up asset. And what has that done? It's created a generation of kids who kind of are attracted to socialism. We have to fix that problem.
He's exactly right. And it's not popular to say that because then you have to start pointing at blame. Who did this? It was you. It was the baby boomers. The baby boomers did this. That's just what happened. I'm sorry. It's harsh, but that's the reality. The reason socialism is so popular is because there are so many baby boomers who have been in political power since the 60s and have done exactly what he's talked about. They've pushed regulation upon regulation upon regulation, which makes it difficult to build houses, which means the supply stalls out and the price skyrockets. They have allowed our manufacturing jobs to be completely shut down by overseas competition because then they can get things for cheaper. Listen, I know we all love being able to go and get a, $20 Chinese whatever from Walmart. But the fact of the matter is, that's part of the problem. We've got to do something about that. That's why tariffs are kind of a good idea. It's a little bit of that short-term pain for the long-term gain. Now you're paying a tariff on your $20 Walmart toaster. But now there's an incentive for General Electric to say, hey, let's just manufacture this stuff here. People will buy it because there won't be a tariff. And now you've got manufacturing jobs in the United States that'll pay well. That's an economic opportunity. The other big issue is immigration. As much as we all love to say, oh yeah, I've always been hardline on immigration, the fact of the matter is most people haven't. This problem that we've gotten into, where we've got tens of millions of illegal aliens in this country working under the table, and then another several tens of millions of low skill, low wage legal immigrants working and inflating the labor pool, that didn't just happen overnight. This problem has been growing for 30, 40, 50 years. The baby boomers have been doing nothing about it. Why in the hell is the H-1B visa a thing? It shouldn't exist. Remove it completely. Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, had a great post about this last year. I want to say, 2025, July of 2025. Check out what he had to say about this. If we don't improve the economic condition of young Americans, Mamdani and the destructive ideas he espouses will continue to spread. When young people have faith in their own economic future, when they own homes and when they get married and have children, they have a stake in the country. They have skin in the game. Perpetually single, childless renters are easier to radicalize by those who want to destroy Western civilization. We need a moonshot Manhattan-style project. 10 million new homes in 3 years, 20 million deportations and self-deportations, and reform and reduce legal immigration. He's exactly right. And here's the thing, we could do that. We could buckle down and say, in the next 2 years, we are going to go whole hog. We are going to deport everyone. We're going to be checking IDs at every available opportunity. And if you're not a citizen, if you're not here legally, we're going to deport you. And then we're going to go in and we're going to cut back regulation. In places like California, where it's virtually impossible to build anything because of all their environmental bullcrap, we're going to cut that stuff away. We're going to make it efficient to build homes for people. And we're going to make those homes affordable. We're going to reduce the labor pool by deporting these illegal immigrants, by ending H-1B visas, so that when you're 18 years old, there is a demand for you to be in a position like gas station clerk. Why do we just accept the fact that when you walk into any corner store ever, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be greeted by a guy that wasn't born here? Why is that just accepted as the norm? That shouldn't be the norm. That's part of the problem. Increase the demand for the labor. Now, what that is going to require is a bunch of people that are in power right now saying, this is important enough for me to lose my job over it, and then do it and suffer the electoral consequences. Because it will be difficult. Make no mistake. Achieving this will be hard. You'll have to piss off a lot of people. There will be a lot of images of crying brown people on the internet. And you're just going to have to say, I accept that. We're doing this anyway. Unfortunately, most people in political power are only concerned about holding on to their political power, and so they're not going to do anything. They're going to obfuscate. If they do anything at all, it'll be the absolute bare minimum to keep the ball rolling. We've got to be honest about these problems, people. I know we all want to say socialism is just because of laziness. It's not. All right, I think that's enough of that. Welcome back. This is the Next Gen Report. Let's close out by talking a little bit more about some of the violence, some of the crime that we are seeing. This is another story that went really viral on Twitter. This guy that appears to be just completely out of his mind just ran around live streaming himself attacking people. And he did this for, as I understand it, quite a while before anybody actually caught him and stopped him. I talked a lot about this on the Wednesday show. You need to, whenever you leave the house for whatever reason, if you can, be armed. And stuff like this is exactly why. So here's the story from Fox. Charlotte career criminal records himself punching a woman in unprovoked attack, posting to social media. Daquan Schaefer Hunt faces assault with deadly weapon charges tied to a July 30th encounter on East Boulevard. North Carolina man accused of punching a woman in a Charlotte sidewalk attack and allegedly posting a video of the encounter on social media has been arrested at least 9 times since 2023. 9 times in 3 years. This might be unpopular, but I think that's kind of when you get to a throw away the keys situation. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department said 32-year-old Daquan Schaefer Hunt was arrested Thursday after officers responded to an attempt to locate call were shown a social media account containing videos detectives had already been investigating. Officers determined one video depicted an assault reported July 30th in the 400 block of East Boulevard in the Providence Division. Police said the suspect punched a woman on a sidewalk before fleeing. And here's a nice little compilation of all his headshots over the last several years. Victim was taken to a local hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Fox News Digital reviewed videos posted to the social media account. One appeared to show a woman being chased until she took cover behind a vehicle. A comment from the account read, feels good. The thing that not a lot of people are talking about here is in all of these cases of this guy, he did this several times. He went around live streaming it on Instagram. All of his victims were white women, which is kind of weird. What's going on there? That's worth discussing. But that's not getting talked about. Now, it does appear that this guy is crazy. Apparently, he's got a long history of mental health issues. But the question has to be asked, why in the hell was he out on the street? There is a simple answer for this. It's because of woke policies. You always hear, we don't want to penalize people just for being mentally ill. They can't just be in prison for that. We need to treat them. They need compassion. They need care. We can't just throw them in jail for being mentally ill. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. If you're so mentally ill that you're just attacking people on the street, go to jail. If you want to say, they just need mental health treatment, okay, fine, but it's got to be involuntary. Because turns out this guy has just been completely rejecting the mental health treatments. There comes a point where we have to look at the insane asylums of the 50s that we keep saying, this is so terrible, they're just locking people up. They probably needed to be locked up in the insane asylums. You know who's actually shared that sentiment? The sister of this guy. Check this out. Some local news station caught up with her and actually spoke with her about it.
He's empty. He's broken. He's stalled.
This is how Daquan Hunt's sister describes him. She talked to us, but didn't want us to show her face or use her name.
From what I know, his diagnoses are paranoid schizophrenia, PTSD, and bipolar disorder.
Before police say Hunt attacked random victims in Dilworth, his sister says he was violent with her and her mother.
And he completely just flipped, and that turned into violence. And we had to call the cops then. And every time something has happened, yes, things would get physical between he and I, or even my mom and him.
The sister says they have been trying to get him the mental and emotional help he needs for years.
Talking to anybody, mentors, therapists, his probation officers, attorneys, judges, asking, please help us. How can we get my brother in an institution? How can we get him, medicated? How can we make a change? And it leads us back to the same thing all the time. He's released.
The family says they called police Monday to report the assault and the videos, and called officers again Thursday to give them an idea where he might be. Despite that, the sister says they have received multiple death threats.
Our safety has been threatened. My children have been threatened. People have come to my home People have sent things to my home.
She is sorry about the assault and the trauma it caused, and that's why she is thankful that her brother is off the streets.
We did it because that lady deserves justice and anyone else that my brother has harmed.
His sister tells us Hunt is in denial about his condition and has refused to take medication. She is worried that if released, he might take someone's life.
In the state of mind that he's in now, possibly. And I'm afraid that either that will happen or that somebody will take his.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I'm not going to play you the videos of these attacks because they're fairly graphic, and the language is such that I can't really air it without just constantly laying on my little beep button. But I mean, you see him chasing around these women that he's far bigger than. I mean, these are just like chicks out jogging through Charlotte, and you've got this big burly guy that's attacking them. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Don't leave your home without a gun. If some guy comes after you and is just beating the crap out of you because he's insane, you just have to shoot that guy. That's it. That's the reality. That's why we have a Second Amendment. Because you can sit and run and do laps around a car trying to keep him from knocking you out while you hope the cops show up, or you can just skin leather and address the situation. Or the other alternative is we can just say, we're going to put these people behind bars. We're going to lock them up in mental institutions if they're crazy and refuse to get treatment. It's one of those two options. The left doesn't like either, which is crazy. They will point to things like, oh, well, there's too many black people in prison. We've got to shut down jails. We can't just lock people up for this stuff. It's, disparate outcomes or whatever. Okay, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is everyone always has a gun, and when they get attacked by a random crazy guy, they just defend themselves. Well, no, that's gun deaths. We don't want gun deaths. We don't want guns. Second Amendment is a mistake. We can't have guns. So what are we supposed to do? The left has no response to this. It gets to the point where, there are uncomfortable truths. Sometimes you have to inconvenience the criminals. You have to accept the fact that some people are violent, some people are crazy, they're not fit to be in society, and maybe it's not their fault, but that's the reality. Tragically, I feel like this guy's probably going to get back out, and exactly what his sister predicted is going to happen. He's not going to be forced to get treatment. He's not going to be locked up somewhere to receive that treatment. And he's going to start acting crazy around the wrong person, and he's going to die. Or the cops are going to be called on him, and they're going to address the situation. This isn't good. There are ways to solve this problem, but it requires you making peace with the fact that maybe a bunch of crazy black people are going to be in prison. The left doesn't like that. They don't want black people in prison. And why this is better is insane to me. They're so locked in on racial politics that they would rather people actually be in danger than just deal with the uncomfortable reality that some people are crazy criminals and need to be in jail. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But hey, this has been the Next Gen Report. We will be back Tuesday evening, 6:45 on X for a live stream there. Don't miss out at _Ethan Buchanan on X. Thank you very much for listening.